Oh, I would indeed like to say hello to the Korean fans. It's my first time in Korea, and tonight I've had the most wonderful night at the theatre. I've seen the show in different languages and in different countries, probably about 300 times. And tonight was one of the very, very best occasions when I've ever seen the show. So I'm very excited. Well, I really wasn't sure. Coming to Korea, I wasn't sure exactly what I was going to be seeing. I didn't know whether the show would be rather approximate or in a different version or anything. And tonight, I heard it wonderfully sung. I saw it spectacularly danced to the very, very highest standards imaginable. So now I know if I come to Korea, then those are the standards I'm going to expect every time I come to Korea. Well, when we first did Cats in London, it was very different from anything that had ever happened in musical theatre. As much as anything, because our theatre had a stage that came right out into the auditorium. And that's why all of this interconnection between the stage and the audience was developed, because it was a natural thing to do. And the design for the show was of course spectacularly on stage, but it came right out into the auditorium, so that the audience was no longer protected. They were no longer sitting and watching something there. They were in an environment and the show was all around them. And that was completely new, completely different. But at the same time, it was a show that parents could take their teenage children to, their very young children to, but they could also take the grandparents. The whole family could go together. And I think once that was realized, that was something that made a big impact on audiences. We can all go together. So it's not just a show for young people or a show for lovers or a show for serious people, because lots of people came to see it because it had the poetry of T.S. Eliot, and they thought, oh yes, I'd like to see a show by T.S. Eliot, and then they saw all of that. The Jellicle Cats. It was one of the poems in the edition, but I decided to put it very close to the beginning so that it would be like they were the Jellicle tribe, that they were one particular tribe of cats, and they were called the Jellicles. But T.S. Eliot wrote Jellicle because it was a version of a child saying, "Ah, dear little cat," and therefore Jellicle Cat, Jellicle Cat, Jellicle Cat. I mean, it was a child expression, and he put it into the poem. And so many people have asked, but what really is a jellicle? And they're always rather disappointed when it just means dear little. So I try not to tell that story. Well, the first thing I have to say is that I'm immensely excited that there are lots of young people in Korea who want to create musicals, write musicals, direct musicals, stage musicals, choreograph musicals. Because if that's the case, then what will happen is instead of in Korea there being shows that are brought from America or brought from England or brought from places in Europe, there will be an indigenous group of musicals that are part of the Korean expression and the Korean culture, and therefore a Korean approach to dance and with aspects of Korean music and so on. And that's always a wonderful thing when that happens in a culture, when the theatre reinvents itself for the whole population. So I say to those young people, yes, go for it.